Jeff Keighley was a big fan. He was live streaming. He was watching our live stream of the Game Awards when he was not on stage. He was back there. He wanted to see what we thought about everything, and I understand that. But I told him afterwards, I'm like, Jeff, just relax, man. Just enjoy your moment. You're having a great night. Like, don't worry so much about what we think. We're not the be all and end all.
Exactly.
You know, man?
And like maybe I told next time I told him that like I'll take over and he can kind of watch from the sidelines and relax. So like,
I'll find better talent for the music stuff.
I'm gonna
no shade to old Snoop there.
Welcome to the JRPG Pursuit, a podcast about all things JRPGs, from the games we play to the games we collect and everything in between. I'd like to welcome everyone to the show. My name's Abdallah, and with me are my two incredible co-hosts.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Branden.
And today's episode, I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday, Merry Christmas if you celebrate. And
happy holidays, everyone.
Yes. We want to make today a focus of just happiness and like cozy feelings and nostalgia, and just talk about games in general. Like a lot of the things that we've been kind of, what brings us together on this, during these holidays, what kind of games we like to play during these holidays. Is it something you like to replay every year? Is it something that you look forward to? But these are the kinds of things we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, we should talk about the live stream we just had for the Game Awards.
Yeah, the elephant in the room, the live stream. I mean, that implies that it's like a bad thing, but
it was unexpected.
It was unexpected, certainly.
Yeah.
But I think it went really well personally, but I'm jumping ahead. Abdallah reached out to us. I'm guessing kind of on a whim, because we hadn't really talked much about it. And was like, hey, should we stream the Game Awards? And I'm like, A, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I don't know.
I didn't either.
And B, would anybody care? Who knows? Like it's an unknown, but we decided to do it. And figured it out. Yeah. I think it was okay. I'm sure there's easier ways of doing like I set it up. I'm sure there are better and easier ways of doing all of the things that I did. But
probably it did seem like you had quite a complex system there.
Like the way I played Xenoblade 2, I brute forced my way through the process without fully understanding it. But it worked out. So
yeah, it was really funny because like I messaged them early in the week and I was like, wait, I forgot that the Game Awards was this Thursday. I'm like, do we want to stream this? And everyone was kind of like, okay, yeah, we can do this. And then like the day of, Emily, it was like 2 hours before, and Emily was like, are we still streaming? And I was like, oh, yeah.
We should figure out how to do that.
Let's do it. I'm like, what time is it again? It was like, it was like in 2 hours. I was like, all right, let's figure something out and let's see what we can do. And, ultimately, I think we had a really good time.
I think watching it together really made it more fun, personally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I don't know if I mentioned this on the stream or not, but in the past when I've watched it, I usually just kind of have it on and I'm distracted, like maybe on my phone or doing something else. Yeah, but it's like, it was fun to watch it with friends, engage with it, and like joke around. And then like having the chat there was really cool too, because it was actually a pretty active chat. I was pleasantly surprised.
I was shocked.
Yeah, it's great to get that feedback like so quickly and honestly, interact with the chat that way.
Yeah, I was half like, believe me, like I was like coming in and I was like, oh man, we're going to spend half the time talking to ourselves, which is going to be fine. Like we do that already.
We already do that on this podcast.
We already are really good at that. So like I was like, okay, like if nobody joins, it's not that big a deal.
Entertain ourselves.
It'll still be fine. Yeah, exactly. But we'll still have fun.
We had like a pretty good turnout and a really good conversation. The chat was going wild, and like, there was a lot of conversations going in there. We had a lot of fun of interactions with everybody. And I think it's something that like we'd like to do again.
We'll just have to work out the technical difficulties a little bit. But I think once we, get all the settings done, it should be, a little bit easier kind of, I think, moving forward.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Certainly.
Were there any highlights for you guys like coming from that stream? I mean, like any highlights of games, anything that you're looking forward to, or any just like fun things that happen?
Well, I would say for announcements, my favorite was Witcher 4 reveal.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting that cinematic trailer. So I'm really excited for that game. I wish they gave us a date, but I imagine it's well into the future. before we see that.
Yeah.
If we're only seeing like a cinematics type trailer, then they probably have a ways to
CD Projekt Red takes a bit of time with their games.
Which we want them to do.
Hopefully they take as much time as they need, because we don't want a repeat of Cyberpunk.
No.
Thank you.
I mean, even The Witcher 3 was pretty rough on release. So, like, I think it's just...
I think they're going to probably just stick to the next gen and not try to do the crossover like they did for Witcher 3, because that was, I think, the detriment, right? To all those issues that came.
Same thing with Cyberpunk, I think.
And Cyberpunk, So. Straddling generations, it's not the easiest thing to do.
It's not.
Exactly.
I'm guessing.
And games that large, I mean, you look at Bethesda, you look at these, like, you know, when they're creating games this big, it can get somewhat janky sometimes, depending on the types of builds people have and things like that. So, like, I mean, it comes with the territory a little bit, but hopefully they can iron out most of it.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I think they've learned their lesson, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, hopefully. We'll see. How about you, Branden?
I mean, there were surprisingly a lot of games that I thought, even though they may not have been 100% in my wheelhouse, like there weren't a ton of like new JRPG stuff announced. But there were things that like genuinely caught my eye. There was just a lot of weeby looking stuff that I was like,
the mobile games.
Darn it.
Branden got so hyped for those.
Fine.
You really did?
Games.
Fine. I'll play them. I don't know whether they're going to be good or not, but
so
aesthetically, I'm like, yeah, okay.
At least they're free to play to start with.
Yeah. Well, do we know that though? For
most of the mobile games, that's usually the case. I think they were.
But some of them, it wasn't clear to me that they were mobile.
I think they were.
You think they were?
Yeah. They seem.
I mean, they definitely look like.
They might not advertise it right now, but they were.
If they don't advertise it, they're most likely mobile.
I think so.
Like, I guess they didn't have platforms listed on their usually on the trailers or whatever, but
they like to hide.
We'll see. Shame. I mean, I at a certain point, I can't put any more of those games into my life because they take a lot of time and
way too much.
I have other things that I need to do. But I find those appealing at this point in my life for whatever reason. So that was exciting. I really the Naughty Dog announcement at the end. Intergalactic? Is that what it was called?
Intergalactic.
I know they called it like the Heretic Prophet. Which is fine as a name, but Intergalactic is just like a nothing name.
It's
like
too close to Interstellar.
Well, there's that too. It's like it just feels kind of generic, but graphically it looks great. Really cool. I love for some reason seeing all the brand names in the trailer. Yeah, like I love that in sci-fi because it's like there's this weird idea that people had back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s that in the future it's all just going to be like gray computer, and terminals and like it's like no. I mean, the way the world has been going, it's going to be even more brandy than it is now. So like it makes sense that they're using a Sony music player and they're
Porsche spacecraft or whatever.
Yeah. So it makes it feel more real to me, a little more believable. Yeah,
exactly. It reminds me of like 80s like movies that did do those types of things, like did have that product placement in like funny ways, but like interesting, like little like Easter eggs of like, oh, that's what they're doing now.
Well, I kind of wish they showed us a little bit more, but.
Yeah, I wish they showed some gameplay.
It's super
seemed
early.
like it was just,
very early.
I mean, they've been working on it for 4 years. They said,
which is
true.
It's been since 2020. So like, it would have been nice to see something. But the trailer was cool. I heard. You know what I heard?
What?
This might shock you guys. I heard some people don't think that the lady is pretty enough.
They said the same thing about Siri.
She's not pretty enough to be in video game. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, you're right. I can't play this because girl not pretty enough. She gotta be pretty. Otherwise can't be in game.
There's only certain type of women can be in games. You gotta be this good looking or else that's it. Like you're out.
Must be this hot to ride.
I don't understand. Okay.
Well, they can miss playing it.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like it's an echo chamber. If they don't want to play it, they don't have to play it. It's fine.
No.
It's so it's so fun. It's just very funny to me.
They get angry about it though. It's just wild.
No one's forcing anybody. Nobody's forcing anyone.
It's so silly.
It's a hobby.
Why?
It's like, there's movies that don't cater to us that we don't watch.
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
yeah,
exactly.
I don't care. Like it is. I don't. It's just because it's not my thing doesn't mean I'm gonna cry about it. I don't know. Anyways,
I mean, that's a mature outlook, a mature standpoint on it. I guess expecting that from these folks is a little too much. But
yeah.
What do you guys think about the Capcom revivals of some IPs?
That's great. I'm excited. Like, I hope they continue. Like, no, the IPs that they announced are not any that I particularly have nostalgia for myself. I never played Okami, never played Onimusha. Were those the two?
Yes,
were there
those
others?
Two.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if that's the plan, I think the plan is they want to bring back more.
They should.
They bring back.
They got some awesome,
I'm
IPs.
telling you, they're waiting. Like they're bringing back every other Capcom IP before they drop.
Before they do Breath of Fire.
Breath of Fire. They're just like taunting us with that at this point.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to see a Mega Man Legends. Like, I know they tried like 13 years ago. Like they tried to. They were like, I know it got canceled, but it was like they were trying, and then they dropped it.
I love those games.
Yeah, they're great.
Mega Man Legends is like I love Mega Man. Played a lot of that when I was a kid, and played a lot of that. In general, and Mega Man Legends, just wonderful. And I've been wanting them to do another one.
It was such a cool style on the PS1. It was so like blocky and like, but it was like they had the cell shaded look, and the way they animated the faces was just like so. I don't know. So I don't want to say revolutionary, but kinda. For the time, to like give that illusion of like fully animated scenes or whatever. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And I never would have thought like a JRPG-ish Mega Man game would work or exist. And it's a shame that we've only gotten 3 of those games.
I know. So hopefully one day we'll get that. But the Onimusha game, I'm pretty pumped for. I mean, I called it on stream.
You did.
I was like, when we were looking at it, I was like, this reminds me of Onimusha.
Is this Onimusha?
And I was like, nah, it can't be. And then all of a sudden, Onimusha, I was like, I got it. But I played the PS2 games. They even had one that had Jean Reno. If you remember that actor, he was the French actor.
I don't.
He played in a lot of action movies back in the day.
Okay.
Like kind of cop action, Interpol type kind of action movies.
Okay.
I might recognize the face, just the name.
Yeah, you would know him if you saw him. He was in a lot of movies back in the day. But yeah, fun games. They were kind of like, what action games were to like, Resident Evil, because it kind of used the same, almost like the camera angle would change whenever you get into a room, and it would be like, it would shift like you'd be walking straight, and all of a sudden you'd turn. Because the camera angle changes.
Fixed perspective. Okay.
Yeah. But it was a really fun game. So I'm excited to, probably jump into that. I'll see how I feel about it. Whether I have time.
And when they release more information about it, maybe I'll get more hyped.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm cautiously hyped. Cautiously optimistic about it. So we'll see. And then Okami, that was a cool way
to show the sequel through the music, and then
I wish they would have given it a better name than Okami sequel.
I'm wondering if it's a placeholder.
It's not the real name. It's a placeholder, but they could have done a little like something.
I think we also make that joke on the screen because I was thinking the same thing. Like,
I think if they did, name. Yeah, if they didn't do sequel and they put 2 there, people just assume that's the name. But no, sequel makes it more sound like a placeholder.
They may give it a fancy subtitle or
something.
Probably. It feels like the sort of game that wouldn't just have a 2. It's like, when they announced The Last of Us Part 2, it's like they very intentionally didn't call it The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
Because it's not like that elevated cinema thing. It's like The Godfather. It's not The Godfather 2. It's The Godfather Part 2.
That's true.
Same kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So Okami's going to get some kind of like higher ended like subtitle or something.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Because it's not the same, it's not going to be part of the same, overarching story. It's going to be its own, story that, it's within the world.
It's going to be more like a spinoff, but we'll see.
Yeah. Because we're still going to have the wolf is still going to be there and stuff like that, but it's not like a continuation directly, probably. Kind of like how The Godfather is a continuation, so it's like a part 2, part 3 of this one overarching story. With this one, it's probably not going to be that way, but I'm excited to see what they do with it and whatever else Capcom comes out of the woodwork with. You know, I think who did Skies of Arcadia? That's not Capcom, right?
No, that was Sega.
It was Sega. That's what I was thinking. Okay, never mind. Sega. Sega's been doing a bunch of like reviving as well, so maybe one day we'll see one of those.
Maybe. They made the first 4 figures of them, so.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
Give us at least a remaster. That would be nice.
They've got, a lot of IPs that I feel like that would be appealing to us that they have just kind of in their back pocket and they're not doing a ton with. So give us more single player Phantasy Star, give us more Shining Force. They've messed around with the Shining series in the previous, in the recent years, but like, I don't think those have been super well received.
No.
I don't know. I haven't played them, but Shining Force was a winner. Bring it back, please. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, tactical RPGs are in. Like, come on. This is the time.
They're seeing a little mini renaissance right now.
They even have their own category on the Game Awards.
Yeah. So, like, Sega, come on. Everyone.
Please, Sega, please.
Let's do it. Let's get it. But yeah, I think that's like, is there anything else you guys want to talk about the live? Anything specific?
No.
I think those were kind of our highlights and our thoughts. And if you guys want to watch our live stream and weren't able to catch it while we were live, we do have a saved playlist on this channel on YouTube. So you could go and watch kind of how that went in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks again, everybody who came out to watch live. I mean, I don't know how many it was in total, but like we had an active chat going of dozens of people at a time. So it was really cool to hear from everybody. And it was a lot of fun. We will definitely do it again when we have an opportunity to coming up here.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get some more announcements and things to do that we can
maybe we'll do some live show too.
Oh, a live show.
Yeah.
A live podcast.
Let us know if you guys would be interested in that.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, we could make that happen for sure if people want it. So
yeah, that would be a fun time.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyways, so let's get started with the actual topic now. So I know we were talking about earlier, holidays, nostalgia, that cozy, warm feeling of drinking hot cocoa.
I would call it fuzzy, a warm and
fuzzy feeling down to your core as it's freezing outside, minus where Emily lives because it's
doesn't get that cold.
Because it's freaking nice all the time.
All the time. It's that nice temperate weather. Well,
technically, when I was born, so I was born Christmas Eve. That was the coldest winter we had where I'm from. So
okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
It didn't quite get to snow temperatures, but I think there was a frost.
Just a light,
a
light dusting of frost.
I don't know if that's worse, Emily. Like you emphasizing that feels like it's a little like extra
she does
jab.
Such a good job of twisting the knife with a smile.
It's just looking like it's an extra little jab to us, us Midwesterners.
I don't know. I am kind of jealous of you guys with your 4 seasons. It's kind of
just true,
one season here, maybe but 1.5. I'll say.
It's like I've heard it described in California as summer and not summer.
Yeah. That about explains it.
But I mean, our seasons,
at least where I'm from, there's other areas in California that's a bit more, they have different climates. But
sure. Yeah. It's a big state.
The Midwest gets like there's summer, there's winter, and then there's 2 weeks of like this spring and 2 weeks of this
transitional period. Yeah.
That's like, oh, it's nice. And then all of a sudden it's freezing now. Okay.
You get 4 weeks.
I did live in Wisconsin for a year, so I did experience that. And it took me by surprise.
That's true.
I think we had like a week of fall and then just snow.
Just straight in. Yes. It doesn't like we don't waste any time. It's just cold. So like when you're cold, you just want to stay inside. And what better excuse to do is to stay inside and play some games. And the holiday time is perfect because you're either off work for a little bit, you're off school for those in school, And it gives you some time to kind of catch up on your backlog. Like, do you like to catch up on your backlog? Do you like to go, play an old game? Like, what is there that you like to do?
Yeah, or interact with family members and play games together.
Exactly. Like, what are the best like memories of playing, games with your family or friends? If you don't have family just like directly next to you and you spent a lot of time with close family friends or things like that growing up. So yeah, like, I don't know who wants to start first with kind of like maybe a history of like, how they kind of,
the memories of Christmas,
whatever they want to
holidays.
share, I guess, at this point in time. I don't know, Branden or Emily.
Rock, paper, scissors for it?
All right.
Or I could just go first. That's fine.
I was hoping we'd do rock, paper, scissors.
We could still do it.
That would be...
I want to see the logistics of it.
All right. Okay, we're going on shoot, okay?
Okay, on shoot? Well, wait, okay. What do you mean by shoot? Is this a new way to play rock, paper, scissors? You go rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and then you do the thing after you say scissors instead of on scissors. Okay, I just never heard shoot at the end. But,
oh, really?
No.
It's a regional thing.
It's a regional thing, yeah.
Different regional differences.
I'll drop a flag if there's any problems.
All right.
Okay.
Rock, paper,
scissors,
shoot. Wait, what?
Shoot.
What is this?
I don't know.
Okay. I think I did it too quickly, and then you were kind of...
You win, so you decide who goes first.
You goes first. You can go first. You want to go first.
All right. This is good. This is good content, everybody. Yeah.
This is why you're here. This is
us failing.
This is why you're subscribed to us for this. This
failure of rock, paper, scissors.
Oh, yeah. We'll get better. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have friends as a kid. Are you kidding? So I didn't play games with friends. But I did have like my younger brother, who was 6 years younger than me. So when you're a kid, that is a much bigger chasm than obviously when you get older. But even as kids, as a teenager and him as 8, 9 years old, we both really enjoyed the same kinds of games. Final Fantasy, Xeno, Chrono Trigger, all those heavy hitters back in the day. So we would play a lot of those together. I mean, typically, he would like watch me play, and he would play on his own separately, but like he would watch me play when I was playing a lot. So that was kind of a good bonding time. I don't have a ton of memories from my childhood just in general. Yeah, I don't know why.
It's not uncommon.
Remember much
as we get
about
older.
my childhood.
Yeah. That happens to me all the time.
Yeah. So like I have vague recollections. I mean, one of my clearest holiday, like Christmas memories that's video game related was I must have been 5 or 6 years old, just like so young. And I got Castlevania 3 and Ghostbusters 2 for the Nintendo, and it's just like two of the heaviest hitters that I could have imagined.
How do you decide which to play first?
I played Ghostbusters first. I'm pretty sure because I was a boy in 1989, so like that was my world was Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Of course.
And in retrospect, we know that I only got one good game that year.
Yeah, 100%.
Ghostbusters 2 is not a good game, but
nope.
I did enjoy. I was so happy. I was just like so like overwhelmed with happiness that I had these games. Like I just couldn't believe it. So that's like and like I was raised by my mom, solo, like single mom. And we lived with my grandma at the time. So I got just the crap spoiled out of me. Oh. Like that was, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very memorable for whatever reason. That experience really stuck with me, really got me. That may be it. I can't think of any like JRPG related actual holiday memories though.
Yeah, I feel like we could be loose with JRPGs for like the holiday stuff specifically, just because.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be like sometimes a lot of it's just timings of when we got the game, because maybe you sought out the JRPGs when they released, and it wasn't on the holidays, but you're able to get some other things to round out your gaming experience. Mm-hmm. Mm. On the other hand, I have a very vivid memory actually of Christmas time, and my brother and I we were given, we have, the stockings on the fireplace. And whenever there was a present in the center, that always meant that was a combined present, and it was a big box. And so we were both really excited for what it could be. And it just so happened to be the PS2, the fat PS2. And
the OG.
And the first game we were given with that actually was Kingdom Hearts. And so
wow.
we immediately went to play that on the TV, and we were just so enamored.
So was that your first home console game?
Yes.
Was Kingdom Hearts?
It was.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay.
It was.
Okay. Wow. I don't think I knew that.
I didn't realize that. Interesting.
That's why Kingdom Hearts holds just such a special memory for me.
Yeah.
And it's something I probably should replay just to, I wouldn't say I'm afraid to replay, because I've replayed it multiple times as a kid. Like, that was one of the most I replayed so much. So I kind of know that game backwards and forwards at this point.
Of course.
But, I'm trying to remember, like, my brother and I think we were both so anxious to play. I think we did hand off the controller a little bit and just kind of watch, the cinematic stuff of, seeing all the Disney characters and the Final Fantasy characters. It was just so cool, since we never had console games at that point. And seeing those 3D graphics was just pretty amazing.
That intro?
At age. That intro was so good. I loved the theme song. Like, I was obsessed.
Utada Hikaru, her like simple and clean.
Oh yeah,
simple and clean.
That song had a chokehold on all JRPG fans and weebs.
I think it does. It still does.
To this day,
it's like
it's huge.
Whenever it's playing, I have to stop and listen to it.
I saw it's actually kind of funny. I saw a TikTok a little while ago of like these like DJs at a club, and like it's interesting to see DJs who grew up with this stuff, and then all of a sudden they incorporated they were doing a
into their sets,
mix, and all of a sudden it jumps into simple and clean, and everybody loses their mind. And I'm like, you know what? I don't really go to clubs, but I would be there losing my mind if that would happen. Yeah.
The club scene is not really for me, but if they're playing that like stuff, I'd make an exception. I'd stay out late.
Yeah, my butt off.
Oh yeah.
Be so fun.
we need to figure out what club, where these people play at, so we can go there.
We need to find them.
Minds.
They should come to the gaming convention, so we know.
Oh yes.
And
I have to imagine they do. Some of them at least have to do something like that, like a party, like a dance party or something.
They got it.
I don't know if they do that at the. I don't know if they do it at the Midwest Gaming Classic, but who can recommend it?
We should.
There's some good stuff, especially now. Like, you look at the amount of good video game music there is now. Like, you could definitely have a club setting with all of that stuff.
Doesn't have to be a club setting. Like, it just be like a kind of dance kind of
it could just be a dance party kind of thing. That's fine.
Thing,
the discoteca.
Yeah.
I would love to go to a good discotheque that's playing video game music. I think the only video game song song that resonated harder with me even than Simple and Clean was Sanctuary from Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah. I love that one too.
I love that song so much.
That's such a good song too. Yeah.
When we got that for Christmas, that was the next one that I was obsessed with.
I saw Utada Hikaru live.
Did you?
Back in the day, and I think it was in college. She came to Chicago.
That's so cool.
And did a show there, so she's great.
She performed at Coachella, I think, a few years back. I watched the live stream on YouTube.
She's wonderful. Yeah, she's just such a good artist too. Yeah. So, yeah.
But go on. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's fine. Always down to talk about the songs. So good. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say though. But yeah, that was like one of the highlights, definitely. In prior years, I got a Game Boy Color for the first time with Pokemon Silver, and I think Super Mario Deluxe 2. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one on the Game Boy Color. That was also very vivid, but it was really, I think, the PS2 that really sold me when it came to just how astonished I was. And I've already, after experiencing the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance, upgrading to a PS2 was very remarkable, I think, at that age. Of what games could be. I still loved handheld games. Like, we've talked about that in previous things, but it was definitely eye-opening of like what our games kind of capable of doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to go from like a handheld, even a Game Boy Advance, which had the feel of like 16-bit, straight into the PlayStation 2 without that that awkward transitional PS1 period.
Like, I had seen prior to that, like I would go over to, friends' houses. They might have a sibling that played video games. My friends never did. So I would like catch glimpses. I remember distinctively one of my friends' sister was playing Chrono Trigger, and I thought that looked like the coolest game ever. And I didn't know what it was.
No, you're right.
I didn't know what system it was. I wanted to play that. I didn't want to do whatever we were doing, like watching Sailor Moon or something. I wanted to go watch Chrono Trigger. So I did for a little bit. But yeah, never convinced, I guess, my parents to buy that console for me. But they eventually caved and got the PS2 for us. So yeah. And so that was definitely the big highlight. When I was a bit older, we also got the Xbox 360, but it wasn't really necessarily a combined gift. That was more my brother's gift. But I still kind of appreciated it. I watched mostly games that he would play, though there weren't that many, RPGs that he bought to play, I would say.
Yeah.
But I do remember when he first booted up Assassin's Creed, that was like the coolest kind of, how they did the architecture of all the mosques and stuff. That was just so cool. And I played a little bit of that. Fable 2 also, remember him playing that. And then I was able to snag a copy or was able to kind of wrestle him and let me play it for once instead of him hogging it. But yeah, there's just something about, I think, giving kids video games. It just leaves, I think, such a special memory. And it's something that I really hope that parents, continue to do for their children for years to come. And there is, I think, a balance because whenever my brother and I, we were just so excited to get a couple games each year. Like we weren't, inundated with so many different games. We just had a couple that we really cherished. And I think that's really important as a kid because I think the more games that maybe they're exposed to early on, the kind of less like exciting they get,
Yeah.
Oversaturation
leads to
exactly. I'll be really interested if like any parents listening, like how they've handled, video games and Christmas giving to their kids, if that's kind of the philosophy they've carried or some things that they've learned or not. I would just be curious.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
what about you, Abdallah?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. So I think a lot like Branden, I have like a trouble remembering a ton of things from my childhood. I'm just getting senile with my old age.
It goes every year, a little bit gets lost every year.
But I do remember like, certain things that I've received. So like I know like when I got my NES, and that was a really big deal, being the first system I ever got. And getting Super Mario, just getting Super Mario 1 with that at first. And I remember spending like, I don't know, I was like really up late with my dad. And we were just sitting down just playing Super Mario together. And that was probably like, that was a highlight moment of like childhood playing with that. Like once you get past that, like games got too complicated, like as they got into 3D. Minus my dad was really into Tekken for some reason. Yeah. So we played a lot of Tekken if we weren't playing Counter-Strike on PC. But yeah.
Seems like dads get interested in just like the most random games.
Yes.
I agree.
It's such
what is it with dads?
Speak from experience.
I don't know. It is very random. It's like throughout the years you're like, oh, okay, that's what you're gonna like. Okay.
Yeah, my dad never played a video game, but then Star Fox 64, just that game.
That one.
Playing it all the time. I'm like,
that's so
what's
funny.
going on?
But I remember like the NES, a big highlight I remember is getting my Game Boy Color. And it was like a pack-in. I got like a Game Boy Color with Pokemon. Was it red or blue? I don't remember which one. I think I ended up getting all of the colors, but I don't remember which one it came in packed in. But it came with that, and then it came with like a strategy guide, like a link cable. It was like this like pack in of like all this stuff that they would do.
Little special Christmas packages. Yeah,
exactly
for the holiday season.
I remember getting that and just being like,
bundles.
Like this is the coolest thing ever, and I just like got so addicted to playing Pokemon at the time. And then the same thing with like the Nintendo 64. I think Nintendo 64 was like a huge like because I was like old enough to like start to have like, at least old enough where I can really remember feelings, and like playing Mario 64 for the first time was like such a big deal because like it was just such a fun Mario game, and I remember just being obsessed with playing that constantly, and I think it became like the highlight of like everybody's like get together from that point on, and that was like a really like the memory of like, you know, when I would get together with close family friends during the holidays, the biggest thing during that period of time, it was like, oh, let's like, you know, we have you got Star Fox 64 that you can play 4-player like multiplayer in that. You know, everybody had their games that they would get from, you know, whatever they got for Christmas, and we'd all get together and just try each other's games and like multiplayer. So like someone got like, you know, Donkey Kong 64, we'd sit down and play like the multiplayer version of that, which was a ton of fun. And the same with like all these different other games for the 64. I think that one gives me more memories of like co-op play, because like most of the other systems I played were always just very like most of the time I played single player if I wasn't playing like, you know, Tekken with my dad and my brother and stuff like that. Like most of the time it was me playing like just very straightforward. Like PlayStation 1 was a very like single player experience for me for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, I would do it as a group. Like my friends would come over sometimes and we'd sit down and we'd play like Final Fantasy 7 together and just like watch each other play or things like that. But it wasn't like, you never really got like that. Like 64 was there kind of like, it was a very, very co-op heavy kind of situation. So it gives you more memories of like the holidays and testing each other's games out and playing and having that kind of feel of that.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that until you said it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't remember if I ever played a 2-player PlayStation 1 game.
No.
You know, I don't
Very
think
rare.
I ever like.
I played like Armored Core.
Okay.
And I played like there was like a few games that I would play like some 2-player, but very rare. Like very rare.
I can't think of a single one actually. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the only console that I can't think of a multiplayer game I played.
We were so obsessed with like single player like games at that time. Like it was like a very RPG heavy, and I was like, I went like head deep into that.
Did you guys have like your siblings play games with you at all to like make a reason why you would look into multiplayer games, or was it just mainly friends at the time?
No. Like I said, my brother really played the same kinds of games I did, so they just weren't multiplayer by design. And then friends, again, what are you talking about?
I didn't play games with friends either, so it's...
I almost never had anybody over to my house, so that wasn't really a thing. But yeah, what about you, Dalla?
Well, my brother he's like 7-8 years younger than me.
Okay.
So
big gap.
Yeah.
He was pretty young. I mean, we would play some games as I got older, like when I was in my teens, and he was like still kind of like getting into it. There were some certain games we would play. I can't think off the top of my head what kind of games we would play, but I know it would be, he enjoyed, like sometimes he would play like some of my RPGs, like Kingdom Hearts, and then delete my saves.
Save file? Oh no.
Save files. I remember he did that with my Kingdom Hearts one time. And I was like, I think over halfway done with the game.
Oh gosh. Thankfully that wasn't an issue with my brother and I.
Yeah, it was an emotional...
my brother, he's like 3.5 years younger than I am, but he was pretty bright for his age. So we played a lot of games together. We played the Lego games together in co-op. We played this weird game called Fur Fighters in co-op. When they did that multiplayer. We did Battlefront with the co-op screen.
Okay, yeah.
Trying to think what else we did. A few other ones.
I did a lot of computer games with him for some reason. Like we would play like
we played DDR
or things like that. Yeah, or DDR.
Oh wow,
fun.
Yeah,
I somehow convinced my parents to get the mats, which we didn't play at DDR too much. But we did get the 2 mats.
I never played.
We played it so much in college. We were on the basement floor of the dorms, and my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but my current wife.
Your current
my only wife. Is there a less dumb way I could say this?
Who knows?
My current wife, who was not my wife at the time.
Don't let Jen watch this.
Her dorm room was 2 floors above mine, and her roommates would complain that we were too loud, like stomping on the DDR pad. Like
I had a stomping issue, and unfortunately, like we live in a 2-story house, and the TV was in the upper floor because you enter from the second floor and then go down.
Oh,
we lived on a hill, but yeah, it was really loud. We had to be. I just tried to not stomp.
See, I never got too far into DDR. I was more of like a rock band / like Guitar Hero fiend.
We never got into that one.
I mean, it was like no matter what dorm you went into or where in
That's
college
true.
you go, every college party or anything you did, any get together, there had to have been some like a rock band set up.
Yeah, it was in my undergrad still. Yeah, when I was attending college.
There'd be like the drum set, like the guitar, everything. Like, you just like, it was the thing to do at that period of time.
Oh, yeah.
To me, I think that's nostalgic to me as well. Because I remember like just having a lot of fun doing that. Yeah. I wish I could play that now, but it's not super easy. I mean, I guess
it's not as easy as it used to be. Yeah.
Now that and
got to dig out the old consoles. You got to dig out the old instruments. Hope they still work.
I know, and I don't have the instruments anymore.
To revive it.
I think they tried.
Yeah, I think I heard that they tried to, or were going to try to.
If they did,
I wish them the best.
Do you guys forget the Nintendo one?
The Nintendo?
They had
the DS?
The DS, yeah, the handheld one.
Yeah, the little, I saw that. I've never owned it.
I never owned that one. I remember seeing that.
I never played it, but it looked like a case for major hand cramps.
Yeah, and you like strum on the touch screen and use the, that
did not look comfortable.
It did not.
Innovative solution to a problem that they created.
Yeah, I had a friend who prided. I had a friend who prided himself on being able to like do it on the controller.
Oh,
and I was just like, but why though?
Yeah, but why? You're missing the fun. The fun is to pretend to play guitar.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point of it. Why would you
and
do
it's the point, unless they're related to rhythm games or something, they want the high score. But
yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Well, Abdallah, you specifically just mentioned nostalgia, and we've kind of been talking about nostalgia the whole time. But I think maybe we should talk about some of the particular JRPGs that we're nostalgic for. That we could see ourselves revisiting during a season such as the one we're in, the holiday season. Yes. So I don't know if anybody has any that come to mind. For me, actually, I would say, like a game like Chrono Trigger obviously is very nostalgic for me. If there's any time that I would really want to replay Chrono Trigger, it'd probably be around this time, like on break from work and it's cold outside, just sit in the basement with the space heater on and play through that game for the probably 78th time. So many times I played that game. But actually, I'm playing through Xenogears again, even though I just played through it a couple years ago.
You're beating me to that?
I am. Because I don't know if I talked about it here or just on my channel. But I'm writing a Xenogears retrospective kind of video thing. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. I'm maybe 20% done writing it. It's going to be long. But I want to replay the game and have everything fresh as I'm writing it. So I've started replaying that, and it is. I think I was old enough when I got Xenogears that I still am able to feel like I fully enter that mindset that I had when I was, 15, maybe 16, when I got it. And it's a weird mix of emotions. And like when I eventually get my Xenogears retrospective out, it will probably be clearer why it's a mix of emotions for me. But nostalgia, I guess, comes in different flavors, and some of them are a little more bittersweet than others. So I have like a nice mix of like really pleasant and also kind of bittersweet nostalgia wrapped up in Xenogears.
That's so true. Actually.
Yeah, and I mean the game itself, right, is very dark and like I don't know how to explain it exactly. Like it's not nihilistic. It's the opposite of nihilistic, really. Like if you get right down to it, but it is. It pokes and prods at like the sacred cows of our like society. You know what I mean? Like, and that sounds a little too grandiose, but it's willing to raise questions that like polite society might be like, oh, I don't know if we're supposed to talk about that. I don't know if we're supposed to think about that. That's, contrary to the teachings.
I mean, Takahashi was very big on, Nietzsche, Gnosticism, and a lot of different things that kind of like he kind of pulled a lot of really interesting concepts from each of those areas and philosophies and just kind of blended them and took a lot of their themes and kind of like created this story. And it's a beautiful story. I mean, it's very interesting. Like you said, we can go on and on about Xenogears here. This is what we do. Don't get me started, but
he's doing it to this day, right? Like exactly. He's still exploring these themes from Nietzsche, from Gnosticism, particularly in like Xenosaga and like other philosophical, like Jungian philosophy and things, and into Xenoblade and everything. He's still kind of wrestling with it, which is encouraging to me as somebody who enjoys good writing. I have confidence that he and Soraya Saga, his wife / writing partner, sometimes. I feel like they do actually care about those things. Like they're actually very interested in those things. They didn't just grab some random ideas and throw them in because they seemed cool or whatever.
You see that a lot in like media like this, is that like they'll just say, oh, this sounds cool, or I'll put religious themes in here because it sounds interesting, but like it's the way they use
intentional.
It. Yeah, exactly. It's very intentional. It's like it's subtle in the way of like there are things about each of the characters in Xenogears that play to different types of like personas that you would see within each of these like philosophies and how they kind of match. It's like it's things that you would like if you actually have to study it to understand it, and so like they've really put in the work. Like to fully understand Xenogears, it's interesting because you really have to kind of dive into a bit of each of those philosophies and understand like the basis and the understanding of each of those philosophies to really understand like the overarching goal that Takahashi has across all of these. And I think, like you said, with like as he gets into Xenoblade, like he's still doing it. It's a little bit more subtle, I think. It's
a little more accessible. Yeah, like he learned that.
Commercial.
He's gotten good at wrapping it up in like a very pretty bow of like a game.
It's easier to swallow because it's not so, it's not so heavy.
Which is but
like, just like the main character, Faye, like, if you go into it without any knowledge of popular psychology, you still can enjoy the game quite a bit 100%. And love Faye as a character. But like if you understand like Freudian principles and stuff, like things click so much better. And it's like, and when I first played it, obviously I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know Freud. I didn't know Carl Jung. I didn't know any of this stuff. Gnosticism. I completely oblivious to it. But like coming back to it as an adult, playing it again and again and again over the years, it's like I get more from it every time because I've learned more. I've experienced more myself in my own life, and I come back to it. And I feel like that's, any form of media can do that. I'm not saying this is unique to video games, but it's great to come back to a rich game that is so nostalgic for a person, to keep coming back to it and keep like feeding from it over time and getting more from it. It's like, how can this one thing that was created almost 25, 26 years ago, whatever, still be this rich and fulfilling so long in the future? I know. I don't know. I love it.
Xenogears is like an ogre, is like an onion. It's got layers.
It's got layers.
Like you can go into it, like you said, like you can just go into it and take it face value and enjoy the story. The story is very easy to tackle. Like it's a very simple like concept on the surface level of like what they're trying to do and they're like what the protagonists are trying to achieve. But if you feel the need, you can dive a bit deeper. You can understand a little bit more, and it makes it more enriching, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Though I'm curious how during the season's holidays, like, do you consider it cozy or just more thought-provoking?
I think it's
revisiting.
I find things that really make me go, like really think and really feel deeply. Like that's a cozy feeling for me. Kind of. It's not the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not the exact same kind of thing where it's like nostalgia for like spending time with family or whatever.
Simpler times.
It's just, it's like, it does on one hand remind me of simpler times because like I said, I can still put myself in the shoes of me as a 15 or 16 year old, whatever I was. But at the same time, it's not just a pure, like I can sit down and play Super Mario Brothers and it's a pure nostalgia thing. It's fun, but it's like, there have been better platformers made since Super Mario Brothers. Sorry, it's just true. Like we've come a long way.
Well, we want them to be better, right? Like if they weren't.
You absolutely do. It would be a problem if we had peaked back in 1984.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, so I get that nostalgia hit from that, but that's it. I don't take anything more from it than just that like little hit of nostalgia.
Yeah.
Whereas like Xenogears, I'm getting that hit of nostalgia, but I'm also getting a lot more from it. And that's a really
you like to enrich
comfortable
yourself.
and encouraging feeling. Yeah, it's enriching for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. I agree with
How about you, Abdallah? Do you have a nostalgic game that you could see yourself replaying over the holiday season?
Oh yeah. I was contemplating it, and I think I can't say for certain. I can't use Xenogears anymore.
Right.
Choose another one.
Taken.
That one's forbidden.
But actually, that wasn't even going to be my idea. Actually, for the once, I was not going to say Xenogears.
Okay.
But I actually have two that I think I want. Like they're the same thought process I have for both of them, and that is Terranigma and Lufia 2.
Okay.
There are two like SNES RPGs that I like have a lot of nostalgia for playing as a kid, but oddly enough, like I never owned them. I actually ended up playing those on like an emulator as a kid. Because I was never able, like I just never got them. We know that with Terranigma why, but like Lufia, I just never owned that as well. Because I came across that, playing it that way. And those two games, I think, just kind of unlock a feeling of like, that nostalgic feeling of when you were younger and playing through it. And it's also kind of one of those games where like, I played it so young that I can actually get a little bit more out of it as I play as I get older now. But at the same time, it's just like a fun game that like you can speed through because they're not very long either. They're like perfect length for like a nice little holiday, time period. And it's like those two games just are a ton of fun, and they bring out like different like parts of your brain. So like you have like, Lufia 2 is just like a great story with fun dungeon design and puzzles and things like that.
Puzzles, yeah.
Like I love those puzzles. It was like a mixture of playing like a Zelda game and an RPG at the same time. And that's what like set it apart. Like it's such a fun game, and I love the heck out of it. And then there's Terranigma, which had like just the most fun you can have in an action RPG at the time. It played very smoothly. It was very fast gameplay, and I just loved like running and jumping and like doing this like little like dives into the bad guys with the sword. You just like
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like it was just like a fun game to play, and just like going through the motions of opening up each of the continents as you're going through it. It's just like it felt like such a fun little system and story to play through. And so like those are the two games that I really think about, like, and I was like, all right, like, and I'm contemplating that even now as I'm talking about this. I'm like, maybe do I just jump off the stream right after we finish recording? I just load it up and just start playing.
Replay some Terranigma.
Yeah, like, this might be it. Like I might have just convinced myself. Yeah, I might have just convinced myself to play it again right now. Just drop everything. But yeah, like those two games, I think, just give me a feeling of fuzzy, like coziness. I think, because it's not like it's like the opposite approach to like Xenogears. I think, in the sense of like Xenogears is that deep brooding, like story driven, like very kind of intense, but in a good way. Like all those things are amazing things. Where this is kind of like, oh no, it's like it's a nice story. It's driven and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's very just like relaxing and going through the motions. Kind of like a Lunar in a way, but not as not as lighthearted as Lunar, I think.
Yeah, Terranigma has a little dark edge to it. That's obviously not the same as Xenogears, but like a little bit, like a little tinge of sadness, which is what nostalgia contains too, right?
A little melancholy.
Like nostalgia,
we're never going to experience that the same way again.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Like you feel that happiness from re-experiencing a thing that you love, but there's that little bit of sadness to it too. And I think Terranigma, as an example of a game like that, kind of had that. And I think that's why I felt so nostalgic for it when I played it the first time in my mid-30s. I was like, I'd never played it before, but as I was playing it, I was like, this feels like nostalgic anyway, but also the story and the presentation, it has that little twinge of sadness to it that is so good. It's just so good.
Really is.
It is.
Yeah. I wish one day we'll get like some proper channel to own this game physically here. Yeah. Like in the US. Like I wish they would just, do a pixel remaster or whatever it is, whatever they need to do.
Who owns it?
I was just wondering. I don't know who would own it.
I don't know. Like,
I mean, it's an Enix property, right? So I guess it's technically in Square Enix's hands.
I guess it probably is still owned by Enix. Yeah.
Unless the people behind Quartet somehow retained the rights when they left, but I doubt that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. That's something I would have to look into. But I'm hoping one day we get something. And I know that they've like, I forgot who, but on Twitter one time, I think it's either the maker of the game or the one who did like the audios. Like they referenced wanting to do like a remaster or like a remake of it, kind of like in a way. So
I have to imagine the people behind it have warm feelings towards it too. It's
exactly
very good.
So I know that there are people who like even within the original development that really want to do it. So maybe one day we'll get that. Emily, though, your turn.
So I was thinking, I've already talked about Kingdom Hearts. I alluded to Pokemon, so not to repeat those because again, those were ones that I got, for Christmas, and so that's when I played those games. But recently, I've been playing the Game of the Year, Astrobot. And this isn't a JRPG, but when you... this just brings back so many memories of the PS2 and 3D platformers for me. And that was kind of my bread and butter at the time when I was heavily into the PS2 after Kingdom Hearts. I got into that genre for the first time. And the Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank games were just, I love them so much. So I kind of want to replay at least maybe the Jack and Daxter one, because I think it's now available on the PS5 digitally.
Oh, okay.
So that might have to be what I do for Christmas this year.
Is that like the HD remake that they made for PS3 that they ported?
I want to say it is. And then they're just making it so it's playable on the PS5 now.
Okay, good.
Okay. All
right.
And then they also did the same thing, I think, for the PS4, because that got physical releases through Limited Run a while back. And so they had it remastered again for the PS4, so now it's the PS5. So I think it's from that one.
Okay. I couldn't remember if there was a PS4 version of that remaster.
Yeah.
Trilogy.
Yeah, I think, the collection was available on the PS4. Collection.
Okay, good. All right.
Just, it wasn't a physical except through Limited Run games, which is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you, do you still have, do you have a PlayStation 2 still?
I still have my fat PS2. It's collecting dust. I just don't have a good way to play it. Like, I know there are the different cords, or you could get the really expensive one. So I've been kind of wrestling, do I want to do that and play the janky PS2 version again? And my controller definitely needs, like, it has some built up dust in it. So I either have to like try to clean it or try to find some sort of third party knockoff. Because I think it's hard to get like a legit PS2 controller that works well, right? Yeah. Or am I wrong on that?
I don't know. I'm not sure how hard it is. I have a few that just I've had for, a few years now, and they seem to work fine. Okay. So I haven't run into that problem myself, but yeah, maybe it's just a matter of taking it apart and like compressed air, blowing it out or something. Yeah,
I'll have to experiment, see if I could clean it.
They are easier to take apart and clean and fix than, like, let's say the PS5 controller.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm not taking that apart. I'm scared.
I have like one of my original PS5 controller, like the triangle button it sticks all the time.
Oh no.
And so when I looked up the video of like how to take it apart, I was like, oh, this is going to be a pain. So I've not gotten I need to one day do it, but
yeah,
I have 2 other controllers, so I don't need to.
Yeah, I want to get more just because I like some of the special PS5 controllers, like the classic and stuff. But it's like I don't need it; it's so expensive. And
I know if I ever saw the classic in stock, and I was like, I would probably buy it just because it's the classic colors.
Yeah,
but I never see it in stock, so I guess I'm lucky that like.
Not tempted.
I'm not tempted.
Sometimes I see something that's available, and like Wario64 will post like, "Oh, this game's back in stock," and I'm like, "Oh," so I go and try to get it, and it's gone already. Yeah. And part of me is disappointed, but another part of me is like, "That's close." I almost spent money.
That happens all too often. Like, literally, especially with everything Wario64 posts. Like, I'll see it just like, just too late, but probably
too late. It's probably for the best.
It's for the best. I don't need to buy everything all the time.
Well, Jak and Daxter was my like simpler times pick. Yeah, but when you guys were talking about melancholy and stuff, it got me thinking to a couple different RPGs or JRPGs that kind of left that feeling with me, and something I experienced, I would say, over the holidays. The first one is Final Fantasy XII, so it'll be fun to replay the Zodiac Age one, which I haven't played yet on the Switch, to kind of see if I get that same sort of feel, because I just really love the characters in that. Well, a handful of them, and I loved like the world, and that was my first Final Fantasy game after Kingdom Hearts, and so I was really intrigued about Final Fantasy characters after playing Kingdom Hearts and seeing them in that world, and I'm like, okay, so what's this new, the latest Final Fantasy game? How's that going to be like? And I actually really liked the battle system when I was playing it. I want to say I was 16 when I played it, and I really liked the gambit system. So it kind of just teased that right kind of like that logic side of my brain.
I could see that. Combat. It's a lot of if then statements.
It is. Yeah. So I do a lot of programming like that.
Yeah,
so
exactly. It's like it's perfect for that mentality. It's like
it is. I'd be intrigued if I had the same reaction, like now that I'm better at the if then statements than I was when I was 16.
It's true. I need to replay it just for that reason. Because like when I first played it, I was like not very good at the gambit system.
Oh.
Yeah, I was not good at it either.
I was okay. It was like very okay. Like
my brother wasn't good at it either. I was the only one who finished it between the two of us.
Like I was good enough to finish it, but I never enjoyed it. But I think I would enjoy it a lot more now.
They changed it up too a little bit, I hear, with the Zodiac Age. It's a lot more streamlined. So.
Yeah, I think I would likely enjoy it quite a bit more now than I would have as a kid too. Yeah. So
I do have it on the PS4.
Well, I was 20, or was I 20? I don't know. I was
20 is still a kid.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, for sure. No offense to 20-year-olds out there, but I realize in retrospect, it's like I didn't know what was going on.
I didn't know anything that was going on when I was 20.
I still don't.
I still don't either. Honestly. A little bit more than when I was 20, though.
Sure.
So that was one pick for the kind of the melancholy, because like how the story kind of progresses, and I was kind of hoping for a more impactful ending that didn't happen.
I know it kind of leaves you a little flat.
It left me hanging a little bit, of like expectations.
Yeah. Yeah, I really wanted more out of that game, but
I did too. It had so much potential. I was like, it could have been better. I still loved it. I still love it though. And then the other pick I had was a more recent, I guess. So during the pandemic, that was the first time I was actually not with my like family for the holidays because, you know, we were locked up and all that. And so that was when I got deeply immersed in a few games. So one of them was actually the Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That was my first time playing Xenoblade. Oh, yeah. So I just got totally lost in that world. I wanted to do every single little thing and beat all the, you know, difficult bosses or monsters, do all the side quests, all the collectathon stuff. So yeah, that leaves, like, I really love that game, but I do have a little bit of a melancholy feel because of that, like, you know, that isolation we felt during that time.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually.
And like thinking about the game, does that kind of bring back that feeling along with it? Like a
little bit. Like, I think at that point in the holidays, like, I've been away from home, like, you know, for college and grad school, just never usually during the holidays because I was always like in California. So it was easy to go back home.
Right. Oh, because you were in Wisconsin during.
Yeah, I was in Wisconsin during, the pandemic.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I was at, you know, a different state. It was very weird. I didn't know anyone. And when I first got there, like, I only knew a few people and then the pandemic happened. So then I was like locked in and I conversed a lot with online friends. That kept me sane, you know. Video games kept me sane. Books kept me sane. All that.
A lot of media.
A lot of media consumption.
Yeah.
Not that I was making anything, but I had plenty, you know, at my disposal. But yeah, I guess we talked about a couple different games we thought would be kind of a nice to revisit of the holiday season. We'd love to hear what you guys think of, like, if there's any games that inspire you to replay, or if you are more into just the new experiences during the holiday season and with friends, family, etc. You guys have exciting plans for the holidays?
Oh,
traveling, just lots of traveling and trying to squeeze in time to play games, catch up on stuff. I'm so behind.
I am too.
I'm so behind. Well, I mean, that goes without saying at this point, right?
Behind.
Like, of course we're behind. We're never going to be ahead. Like,
we have a backlog for a reason.
We do.
Right. But there's so many that even just, you know, as being part of the modern day JRPG community, I haven't played Metaphor. I haven't bought Metaphor. I haven't started it. So it's like I want to catch up and be able to have conversations with people. And
It's hard.
I have no time right now. It's so rough. I mean, yeah, woe is me, right?
There are a ton of games I didn't play that came out this year, like Visions of Mana, Unicorn Overlord, so many.
I still need to pick up Visions of Mana and Unicorn Overlord, so...
I do too. One of them, unfortunately, didn't reach me because someone stole my package.
That hurts me so much.
It hurts.
I can only imagine. Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, package theft is not fun.
Nope. Especially when it's multiple games in one package and you lose too many. Yeah, I've got my package of 3 or 4 games maybe coming in shortly. So I have a camera right there waiting.
Perfect.
Yeah. Make sure nobody takes that.
Yeah.
I dare you to come up. I dare you to come up to this porch.
I'll come out with
my
glitter
bomb ready.
my glitter bomb, my makeshift practice samurai sword.
Yeah.
That every weeb has. You know, you gotta have
bounces off the guy.
It does nothing. It breaks and I just hits me in the face and I get knocked out. It's just,
and then they sue you.
And then I get sued and it's just terrible. All involved.
That's good.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. It's been a great episode going through all our nostalgia, the games that we play, the memories that we have playing all these games. It's been wonderful sharing that with you guys, and we're excited to hear more about what you guys have, what's your guys' nostalgia picks, what kind of games you like to play in the comments, in emails, let us know. But happy holidays, Merry Christmas again. And before we sign off, where can we find everybody? Branden, how about you?
I am at Just the Gems on YouTube, and find me on socials, Just the Gems. Give me a search.
Awesome. Emily?
I'm over at orbalology on YouTube, as well as other socials. And be sure to spell it right.
Perfect. And you can find me at Abdallah998 on Twitter and Bluesky, and then maybe some other places sooner rather than later. We don't know. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, for now.
Okay, for now.
We'll get it out of you soon.
One day. But yes, thanks everyone, and have a wonderful holiday.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.